INFOWARS.com. The guys are coming in the trucks. They come in the flank. Well, we don't have to. All right. So, here they come. They pop in big bangs. Joe Biggs got shot with a rubber bullet. Now I'm running down the street. Man, quit shooting at me! Quit shooting at me! You see they shooting at us. You see that?
So that is not what's going on now. That was a report that they filed, that the crew filed. Josh Owens, Jakari Jackson, and Joe Biggs, they filed in St. Louis and Ferguson the first time they were there, pretty much when nobody was there. There was hardly any media, except for there was a local guy live streaming as well, but really a small media presence. INFOWARS went there, put it on the map, and then all of a sudden, everybody was there joining in on essentially the hysteria and madness that's going on right there. But we were there to document it from the beginning. We're there now. We have Joe Biggs live. I also have sitting next to me, David Knight is joining me in the studio. And earlier today, he was talking with Paul Joseph Watson about grand juries and how they work. And you've got a little more to add on this. I mean, does this grand jury decision really mean anything?
Yeah, that's the point, Rob. Why do they even need to have a grand jury? Because the prosecutor doesn't need to have it. In half of the states, they don't use a grand jury system. In states where they do, they don't always call a grand jury. When the grand jury takes a look at the evidence, they can say that there's probable cause to move ahead with an indictment. But then again, even if they say that there isn't, the prosecutor still has the discretion where he can go ahead with it. You need to understand that this is not a real trial. And I think that's the most important thing, Rob, is that people need to understand not only about the guilt or innocence of this police officer, they need to be affirmed that this system is innocent, that this system is working, that this system is not rigged. They're not going to see that in a closed, hidden proceeding like the grand jury.
Tribunal.
Exactly. They need to have an open, transparent trial with a judge, with a prosecutor, with a defense attorney, where everybody can see the facts that are being presented and see the facts that are not being presented. All this is taking place in a closed, secretive thing with the prosecutor only. The judge only has the role in terms of giving a few instructions, then he's out of there. The prosecutor is running the show, and he's doing it in secret. It's almost as bad as the FISA court, where you got one judge, no adversarial relationship whatsoever, just rubber stamping whatever the government wants to do.
Yeah, and I mean, we've drawn it out so much. We've had so much media presence down there. Why not just keep this going into trial? Why not just let's start presenting the evidence so everybody can see the evidence?
They've let this thing run for months.
We don't know what they're going to show and what they're not going to show.
Exactly, and we won't know. They're not going to release all this because grand jury proceedings are kept secretive. Why would they do this? Well, in many cases, the prosecutor will call a grand jury because he wants to know if he's got enough evidence that he can move forward and be successful in a trial. But he also can use a grand jury to essentially give himself cover in a political hot potato case like this. I believe that's what's happening here. He doesn't want to take the hit in case he chooses to prosecute them or not. And just like you have in a real trial, if you've got a hung jury, the prosecutor can keep coming back after that person up to 3 times as long as the jury is hung. Well, so there's a lot of leeway here.
And I could see him doing this, saying, oh, hey, we the grand jury think he should be indicted on whatever charge they choose, most likely manslaughter. And then the prosecutor can still say, no, I'm not going to charge him.
Right.
So
or you could charge him for something completely different.
Or you know, so this is a way to keep the crowd at bay, to keep them down, and then go, oh, we're not going to do it anyway. So they could do a 3-card Monte on the protesters there and the people that are there, because they've strung it along this far. People thought there was going to be a verdict last Monday, and now we're here a full week later. Our guys have been there over 10 days, and we still don't know. We're going to know in less than 30 minutes now, supposedly.
They've manipulated this from the very beginning.
Yeah.
They had information, supposedly, unless they manufactured this information, unless they're lying to us, but they had information at the very beginning that could have proven that this officer was not necessarily guilty. They didn't put that out there. They haven't put their cards on the table from day one. They've been holding it back. You've had Eric Holder go down there, personally make appearances there. He didn't do that when you had obvious cases of excessive police force that have been used in the past. He didn't show up. Take that case, for instance, in the Ohio Walmart, where it was a black man, and he was in a Walmart. He was shopping. He had a BB gun with him. And
a Walmart BB gun.
A Walmart BB gun. He's going to buy it from Walmart. So he goes into Walmart. He picks up a BB gun. He's talking to his wife, and all of a sudden, some guy has called 911, says there's a guy in here with a gun. They show up and immediately shoot him, and you even have the surveillance footage. I mean, this is a cut and dried case of murder. Where was Eric Holder? Well, he doesn't show up at these cut and dried cases.
Where was Al Sharpton? Where was Edward Jackson?
They show up at this place because this place is ambiguous, and they can get the whites and the blacks fighting each other because before the election, the only card that they had to play was the race card. They wanted to get that on the table. They wanted to build tension between whites and blacks to try to get support for the election because nobody is supporting them on their policies. They basically stuck the knife in the back of blue-collar workers, of the poor blacks who are working in terms of this amnesty thing. So they tried to play that up. But the question is, what are we going to do about excessive police force? In the case of this shooting in Walmart, that was decided back in September. They did not indict those police officers who shot that man dead in the store. And he wasn't threatening. He wasn't doing anything to threaten anybody. He hadn't gone anywhere. Like one of the things that's making this case a little bit ambiguous is because you have Michael Brown going to that convenience store. There's the issue, you know, were they pushing that guy around? There was nothing like that in the case in the Walmart store. This guy was totally innocent. You had another case this weekend where a guy was shot in a stairwell. Where are the people when that happens? Why can't we get a hold of them?
Shot for holding a BB gun in a park.
Yes, exactly. And you know, the interesting thing is that in both of those cases, Kit Daniels had a story today. The kid who died this weekend after being shot with a BB gun in a park, the police shot him dead after a 911 call, where they said it was probably fake. The question is, why would they call 911 if they thought it was probably fake? Nevertheless, the kid was shot, the kid died, and now you got people saying, well, you know what we need to have is we need to have bans on toy guns. And that's exactly what they did at the Walmart. That Walmart is no longer selling the Crosman BB gun. Even though they're selling real guns in that Walmart, they're not selling the BB gun. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. That's like saying when the Central Park jogger gets raped, what we need to do is we need to stop jogging. Yeah. You know, we need to put a ban on joggers.
Or we're going to ban penises in Central Park.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to ban toy guns.
Well, it's bubble gun hysteria, essentially, is what we have across this country. A kid does this. I was covering it last week. He went pew, pew, with a ray gun, a fake ray gun with his finger, and he gets suspended. He's in the lunch line messing around with some friends.
Meanwhile, the police who are shooting people dead on the streets, who are shooting first, who are emptying their guns, they're not even doing what Frank Serpico said. He said in his day they would shoot twice, reassess the situation. If they thought that it was justified to shoot, they empty the clip. They shoot first and they keep shooting until they're out of ammunition. And nothing happens to them. Meanwhile, like she said, if you just point a finger, a kid points a finger at somebody and goes bang, bang, he's in a lot of trouble. But the police never get in trouble, even when they're killing people.
Yeah, or killing dogs. I mean,
puppycide. That's not part of the part of the vocabulary. Puppycide. We got one officer in New York that, by himself, over a period of 3 years, has killed 25 dogs in Buffalo, not New York City. In Buffalo, he's killed 25. The department's killed over 90 dogs in that same period. It's absolutely out of control, and the question is, what are we going to do to get control of it? Of course, we're not going to see anything happen with an ambiguous case like this. That's why they have given this case so much attention, ignored the other ones, and that's why this whole grand jury situation is really part of their control paradigm, to try to foment anger between people, to try to drag this thing out. Look at this. They had this thing decided at 1 o'clock, and here we are. It's going to be 7 hours later before they're going to announce it. They had said earlier, the prosecutor had said that he was going to release it, information 3 hours after the grand jury did it. If it's a weekday, he was going to have a press conference 3 hours later. No, they're having it 7 hours, we see.
Well, and the parents were supposed to be informed a day before, 48 hours before. They didn't find out that the verdict was going to come out until they saw it on the news. I mean, it's just misinformation after misinformation. They don't want to put out anything real because, one, it doesn't allow them to backtrack. And so they put out these innuendos. They're having people dress up in their street clothes before they go in to work because, you know, they're afraid something's going to happen. And they're trying their best to figure out a way around this mess because in the beginning, they just didn't come out and do an investigation.
Well, the family's lawyer, Michael Brown's family's lawyer, has pointed out that this prosecutor in 28 years has never done it this way. He has never had a grand jury where he went for 3 months presenting evidence to them. Clearly, he's in charge. It's not a judge. There's no adversarial relationship here. It's what he wants to show them, how he wants to show them, the timing of what he wants to show them. He's absolutely, totally in charge, and you have to ask, if he hasn't done this, as the lawyer for the family said, if he hasn't done this in 28 years, why didn't he do it in 28? If this is the right way to do it,
why isn't he doing it all
exactly. Why didn't he use this kind of care for other people if he's using this kind of care for this officer? The key thing is that it's not the officer who is on trial here, it's the system.
Right.
The system is not putting the cards on the table. As we see with government at every level on every issue, they are closed. There's no transparency. There's no candidness. Everything is a secret. We're not allowed to know anything, and they manipulate us to the nth degree. And quite frankly, I'm sick of it. I know that the people there are sick of it. I know the black community is sick of it because they've been bearing the disproportional brunt of this kind of excessive police force, just like they've been bearing the brunt of the drug war for so long. I mean, it's affecting everybody, but it is disproportionately affecting the black community for sure.
And we've got reports on these all coming up later tonight. We've got several things we want to talk about in addition to what's going on in Ferguson, because while you're so focused on Ferguson, what else is going on? And we had the Secretary of Defense resign today, which it looks like he was pushed out, not really resigning, for the failed war on ISIS, for Iraq, other things that are going on, and the Ebola. You know, why is the Secretary of Defense involved in Ebola anyway? I don't understand that. But, you know, all these situations that, you know, Obama's kind of hiding behind.
We talk about
amnesty just happened.
You talk about Ebola. I mean, last week he did another executive order that nobody is really talking about, giving immunity to corporations if they bring Ebola here.
Right.
You don't have immunity to Ebola. I don't have immunity to Ebola. But the corporations are going to have legal immunity if they bring that in. Why is he doing that if he doesn't think that's a possibility?
Right.
He's assured us that, of course, that isn't going to happen. Nevertheless, they buy their hazmat suits, buy hundreds of thousands of those hazmat suits. They extend legal immunity to the corporations that are going to be working with them. They send the soldiers over there in harm's way.
With no training?
With no training, with no equipment. When they ask them why they're only going to be held there for 10 days before they bring them back into the country, they say, well, for all intents and purposes, you have to understand that we treat the entire country as an infectious zone. Very different from what we were told before, that they were not going to be exposed to anything. Now we're told they're only going to stay there for 10 days because you can't effectively quarantine them when they're in the country. Do you understand how they're telling you one thing one day and then completely switching it around the next?
But if they come up with a vaccine, they're going to try to force everyone to take it.
Yes.
Out there, and that's just going to do nothing but line the pockets of Big Pharma. Is Joe Biggs still out there right now? Is he still on the line? There he is. Joe, what is the situation like now? Has it gotten worse? Has it gotten better? What's going on right now?
There are hundreds more people here. They have started to push in. I'm pretty much surrounded for the most part now in my little area that I have blocked off. But way more people showing up. The police still haven't come out in full force. There's, you know, give or take 25 officers outside right now. But there are hundreds and hundreds of people out here now on both sides of the road. I haven't seen traffic in a while. I think the whole road's blocked off. Yeah, it is. So people are building up, and they're all coming out here in anticipation of what's going to happen with this announcement tonight.
Wow.
About 15 minutes out.
Yeah, we're about 15 minutes out. And actually, you're going to go and file a report as soon as the announcement comes out, so we can have a short report up on YouTube and your analysis of it, of how it's delivered, what's being said, just the way they're going to try to legally maneuver this into our subconscious, into accepting whatever they throw out already. What was interesting is we were watching the press conference with the governor, and some guy got up, had this really long question about how this is just a cover for, I heard him say communist, something else. I started to turn it up. He had this real long question, and then the governor just said, no, we don't think that's going to happen, and went to the next. Just totally dismissed what this guy was bringing up. Yeah. Sort of like what happened when Dan Bidandi asked the governor of Massachusetts.
No. Next question.
No. This is definitely not a false flag. All these people with black backpacks and contractor gear really weren't there. You know, we know who did it. It was these two Chechen brothers.
Well, you know, if they come out and they don't give an indictment to him, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I do know that in Ohio, with the case of the 22-year-old father who was shot dead in the Walmart holding a BB gun that he was going to be buying from Walmart, even though they did not return an indictment, we see that there have been constant demonstrations after the fact now. We're now 2 months later